We've just had the piano tuner look at my daughter's piano down here in Newcastle. And I got talking to the piano tuner and asked him how he got into the business. Wow, it's such an amazing story. I want to share it with you.
So I've got to the end of the 12 notes there, and we're about where we need to be. So then I can start tuning in octaves. Okay, there you go, there's the first octave tune.
How did you get into piano tuning?
Well, as I said, I don't think I really knew what a piano tuner was. I might have heard of the term, but I was at school and I was an electronics nut, you know, writing computer programming, that kind of thing. So I got a job with Dick Smith Electronics when I first left school. The shop I worked at was so dead, we could literally go for 2 or 3 hours without any customers. So eventually they decided they changed managers a few times and that kind of thing. Basically they cut the staff down, it ended up being me and a manager. Then they decided they'd shut the store. So they moved the manager on and I was just a junior guy, so they told me, well, when do you want to finish up? Just tell us when you want to finish up, and basically I got the sack. So anyway, I'd just become a Christian around when I turned 18, and I basically had a car to pay off and I was going to travel around Australia. But anyway, one day I was just praying for a job, and I remember I basically saw what you'd call a vision of where I'd work, and I knew what town it was in. It was in the town of Singleton, New South Wales, and to my knowledge I'd only ever been there probably twice. I know my sister had crashed a car on the Putty Road, so we went and rescued her one day, and one other occasion that I'd been there that I remember. So anyway, when I prayed, I basically drove towards Singleton, and I got out of the car, walked up and down the street until I saw the shop that I'd saw when I prayed, and I walked in and asked them, have you got any work? And they said, oh no, we're not looking for anybody at the moment. So I thought, oh, that's weird, and I got back in the car and drove home. Anyway, as I said, I decided to drive around Australia, and just look for work and stop when I got something. Got a job pumping petrol within a day or so, so didn't get too far. But anyway, rang up Mum and Dad that night and said, oh, I've got a job pumping petrol, and they said, someone from Singleton rang up for you today, and so could you come in for an interview? So in I comes for an interview. Well, what do you say? They started me in a record bar. That wasn't really my thing, but the business had started as a piano tuning business in 1927, and it was a large family business and probably had about 27 employees. Most of them were family. So I was one of the ring-ins, and the old fellow that had started in 1927, now this is 1986, so he was already, he was an 86-year-old man, he was a 1900 model. Yeah, I was his last apprentice before he died, and so, that's basically how we got there. Him and his son were piano tuners, but they had a music section in the shop. It was a Retrovision shop, sold just about everything except the kitchen sink. Had an air conditioning section and, Retrovision store, and it had this small music section. And I just wandered around during my lunch breaks and looking at the instruments. I'd only started playing guitar a few weeks earlier than that, and they noticed that, and they said, well, would you like to go at the piano trade? And just to be agreeable, I said, yeah, but that's how I became a tuner. I was the last, basically, we started working on mechanisms in old pianos, and the old fella who, one of his classic phrases was, oh, what I do for another set of eyes. I was there with my good eyes, and I'd race him towards the middle, and he with all his experience would race me from the other end towards the middle. And so we'd repair piano actions, and then we'd go out tuning and that kind of thing, him and his son, who was also in his 50s. So yeah, it was with the Gray family in Singleton. And they were really nice people, actually.
Started with a vision.
They did, yeah.